The spaceport on Station Illyra was always full of life. It sat quietly in orbit around the green and blue planet of Varel, a place known for trade, long journeys, and short stories. Merchants, travelers, and workers from different worlds walked its clean metal floors every day. Some were here to rest, some to refuel. And some, like Tamil, were just trying to make it through another shift. Tamil was a cargo technician. He wore a brown uniform with a patch that had his name stitched. On it, his boots were dusty, and his hands were stained with grease from unloading cooling tanks all day. He didn't mind the work. It wasn't exciting, but it was honest. After a long shift, he often visited the little cafe near Dock 6. They had strong coffee. And the heat cakes were warm and soft, just what he needed after hauling cargo in. The cold holds of ships that day, the line at the cafe was longer than usual. A group of tourists spoke loudly behind him, and a security officer stood near the door, watching with half-closed eyes. Tamil stood quietly, hands in his pockets, waiting his turn. In front of him stood a woman alone, silent. She wore a simple gray coat, and her black hair was tied back. There was nothing flashy about her. She looked clean, sharp, but tired, like she hadn't slept much in days. Her eyes were dark and focused, like someone used to seeing far ahead. But now, she looked unsure. When it was her turn, she stepped forward. "One hot blend. Easy, please," she said calmly. The cafe bot scanned her wristband. A small red light flashed. The bot paused. "Payment error," it said in a flat voice. "No valid credit found." The woman blinked. "Try again," she said, this time a little softer. The bot scanned her chip again. Same result, no payment. A few people in the line began to notice. Someone behind Tamil whispered, "Another fake elite thinks we'll just give it for free." The woman didn't argue. She gave a quiet sigh and stepped aside. "It's all right, I must have used the wrong account." She turned to leave, but before she could take another step, Tamil spoke. "Put it on mine." The cafe bot turned too. "Him confirm purchase?" "Yeah," Tamil nodded. "One medium blend, and my usual heat cakes too." The woman stopped. She looked at Tamil with a steady gaze. "You didn't have to do that." Tamil shrugged.
"Didn't feel right walking."
"Away without coffee." She studied him for a moment. "Still, thank you." Tamil nodded once.
"No problem."
They both took their orders and walked in opposite directions. She sat at a corner seat near the big window that showed the stars and the planet below. He sat in his usual spot in the back where it was quiet and warm, but as he ate, he glanced at her without meaning to. She sat with her drink in her hands, not sipping it, just holding it close. Her face looked calm, but her eyes kept scanning the room, watching, thinking, as if she didn't fully trust anyone here. Tamil didn't know her name, and he wasn't the type to ask. Maybe she was just a traveler who forgot to top up her account. It happened sometimes. Not everyone who looked well off actually was, but there was something strange about her. She didn't move like a lost tourist. She sat straight, every movement precise. Her coat had no creases. And even now, her expression was calm, even after being embarrassed in public. Most people would have looked away, fidgeted, left quickly. Not her. Tamil finished his food, stood up, and walked toward the exit. As he passed by her table, she looked up. "I'll pay you back," she said suddenly. Tamil stopped. "No need. I don't like debts," she replied. Her voice was calm, but firm. Tamil thought for a second, then gave a small smile, then call it a gift. One traveler helping another. The woman nodded slowly. "Still, thank you." He gave a wave and walked out. But behind him, the woman watched him leave. Her fingers tapped the side of her cup once. Then again, a habit she had when she was thinking hard. She whispered softly under her breath, "He doesn't know who I am." She leaned back, sipping the coffee finally. Warm, strong, bitter, just like she liked it. The kind of coffee she hadn't tasted. Since before the crash, since before her name was wiped from the systems, since before they said she was dead, her name wasn't Mira Lane. The name printed on her temporary ID. Her real name was Mira Velis. She had once stood at the head of Veltrix. Dynamics, one of the most powerful companies in known space. A company built on clean energy tech, artificial environments, and interplanetary development. She had made enemies, many enemies, and when she tried to stop a dangerous project being pushed through the board, shuttle had exploded, or so everyone believed. She'd survived, barely. Her systems had been damaged, her ID chip corrupted. Since then, she'd been moving between ports, hiding her identity, searching for a way to get back what was stolen. She trusted no one, asked for no help. Until today. Today, a stranger had stepped in, not because he knew her, not because he wanted. Something just... Mira looked out the window again. Stars shimmered quietly beyond the glass. For the first time in months, she allowed herself a small smile. The next morning on Station Alira, the halls were quieter. Most of the big ships had already left the docks, and the new ones hadn't yet arrived. It was a slow hour perfect for workers like Tomel to enjoy a peaceful walk before their next shift. He had a small habit of walking around the station when his mind was busy. Today, his thoughts kept returning to the quiet woman from the cafe. He didn't know why. Maybe it was the way she watched the stars. Maybe it was how calm she stayed, even when things went wrong. Most people would have been upset if their card didn't work, or if strangers laughed at them. But she wasn't like most people. As he turned down the corridor near the cargo lifts, sounds stopped him, voices not loud but sharp. ID failure again, a security officer said. She tried. To use the same broken chip twice? Looks suspicious to me, said another. Tomel moved closer. Around the corner, near the check-in gate, he saw her, the same woman. She stood straight, arms behind her back. While two security officers scanned her wristband again and again, each time the red light flashed. Ma'am, said the taller officer, your chip is unregistered. That means either it's damaged or you're using a false ID. Either way, we need to bring you in for questions. I already explained, she said calmly. There was an error during the last system transfer. I'm trying to contact the registry department. The officer frowned. That's what they all say. Tomel stepped forward before he could stop himself. She's with me, he said. Both officers turned. She's your guest. One asked too. Mel nodded. Yeah, we were on the same freighter from Argus. Her chip's been glitching since the jump. Ah! The woman looked at him, surprised. For a moment, but only for a moment. Then, as if reading his thoughts, she gave a quiet nod. That's correct, she said. Thank you, Tomel. The officer scanned Tomel's badge. His ID was real, clean, registered to the cargo crew. Fine, the officer said. It. Her clothes. If she tries to use that ID again and it pings as invalid, she's coming with us. They walked away, not fully satisfied but too busy to argue more. Tomel turned to her. Sorry if I crossed a line? No, she said, shaking her head. You didn't, thank you. He hesitated. Do you need a place to stay? The check-in desk won't help without a valid chip. I'll be fine, she said. But her voice wasn't as firm this time. Tomel scratched the back of his neck. My place isn't fancy, but it's safe and warm. Mira looked at him carefully. She had lived months avoiding strangers, moving place to place, keeping to herself. It's place Timbout. Tomel. His voice, his actions, was different. Come, she said softly, just for a day or two. Tomel's quarters were small, but neat. A one-room cabin in the worker wing of the station. It had a bunk, a small table, and a window that faced the planet below. It was the kind of place most people wouldn't notice, and that made it perfect. She sat on the bunk while he boiled water. For soup, you didn't have to do this, she said. I know, Tomel replied, but I've been helped before. Felt right to return the favor. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked around the room. There was a photo of a young boy on the shelf. Your brother? She asked. My son, Tomel said. Lives on Virel with my sister. It's safer down there. Not much work for a kid's father who's always in orbit. Mira nodded. He looks happy. Tomel served the soup and sat across from her. You're not a normal traveler, are you? She looked up slowly. You fix things fast, he continued. You move like someone trained, calm under pressure. You speak like a person who gives orders, not follows them. She smiled a little. You notice too much. I work with broken things, he said. I learned to watch closely. For a moment, there was silence. Then Mira leaned back and spoke quietly. My name isn't Mira Lane. Tomel didn't speak. He waited. My real name is Mira Velis, she said. He blinked. The name sounded familiar. Very familiar. Then he remembered Veltrix Dynamics. The company in the news. The CEO who disappeared. The woman whose shuttle was lost 6 months ago in deep space. I thought, he began. They said I died. That's what they wanted people to believe. She looked out the window, eyes distant. I tried to stop something. A project being pushed through my company's board. Something dangerous. It removed me, erased me. My shuttle was sabotaged. Tomel listened carefully, not interrupting. I survived. Barely. A crew of miners pulled me from the wreck, but by then, the system already listed me as deceased. My ID chip was damaged. My name was gone. If I showed my face openly, they'd find a way to finish what they started. So you've been hiding, Tomel said quietly. Mira nodded, trying to stay ahead, trying to gather proof. But without access to the company's systems, I'm just a ghost. Tomel looked at Horelli. She didn't just need shelter. She needed someone who believed her. Someone with hands steady enough to help carry the truth. You're not alone now, he said. She met his gaze. That might be the first real thing I've heard in months. Outside, the stars blinked quietly in the dark. Inside, 2 people sat across from each other, one forgotten by the world, the other just a simple man. But together, something was beginning. Tomel wasn't used to having someone in his space. His life had been quiet for the past few years. Simple work, simple meals, and short calls to his son on VRL. But now, with Mira Velis sleeping in his cabin, things felt different. She didn't act like a guest. She kept the place clean, spoke softly, and stayed out of his way. But there was something else, something careful and controlled in everything she did. She moved like someone who had learned to hide in plain sight. The next morning, Tomel woke to find Mira sitting at the table with a small device in her hand. It was broken, some kind of portable scanner. Where did you get that? He asked. Rubbing his eyes, found it in the storage closet. Hope you don't mind, she said. It's just scrap. It doesn't work. It will, she said quietly. In less than an hour, Mira had opened the scanner, repaired the wires, set the firmware, and powered it back on. It beeped softly as it scanned the room. Tomel watched her work, impressed. You fix tech like a pro. I used to design systems 10 times more complex than this, she replied without looking up. Before everything was taken from me, she paused, staring at the blinking lights. They even used my own tools to erase me. Tomel sat down across from her. You said you're trying to collect proof. Evidence. How close are you? Mira sighed. Not close enough. I know the board members replaced parts of the system, changed logs, wiped clean histories. But there's one place I might still find what I need. Where? The Veltrix Central Archive. It's a secure server unit on the main research freighter, Valis IX. It's docked in orbit for another week. That ship's huge, Tomel said, and heavily guarded.
Nice.
I helped design the ship's layout, Myra said. I can get in. But I need someone who knows the port systems. Someone like you. Tomel leaned back. You want me to sneak? You aboard? No, she said. I want you to help me bypass the internal cargo logs. If I enter through the cargo bay, I need the system to believe I'm just another piece of equipment. Tomel stared at her. She was serious, calm, focused. You're asking a lot, he said. You already helped me once, she replied. You didn't ask for anything then. I'm asking again now. But this time I'll tell you everything. Over the next 2 days, Mira stayed in the cabin, rarely going out. She mapped out the ship's layout from memory, drew diagrams on the back of spare packing papers, and used the repaired scanner to simulate security check-ins. Tomal brought her news from the docking bay ship schedules, crew changes, and even small gossip about who had access to which areas. He was surprised how easily she understood things. She wasn't just smart, she was strategic. One evening, while Tomal was fixing a broken circuit in his wall panel, Mira sat beside him, holding the lights steady. "You really live like this every day?" she asked. "Yeah," Tomal replied. "Simple life, honest work. Could have asked for more. You could have tried to climb up." He chuckled. "Tried once. Didn't work out. I chose peace over power." She was quiet for a while. Then she said, "I used to think power meant control. But now I see it just paints a target on your back." Tomal looked at her. "Still, you're not giving up." "Can't," she said. "If I stay silent, they'll keep using the company for things I never wanted. They're turning it into a weapon. Then we'll stop them." Mira looked surprised. "You said we," she noted. Tomal nodded. "You trusted me with your truth? I trust you with mine. Let's finish what they tried to bury." The next day, Mira put on a simple worker uniform. It was clean but worn, borrowed from one of Tomal's old sets. She tied her hair back, tucked her sleeves, and lowered her head as they walked through the lower halls. Tomal carried a toolbox. Mira followed with a crate. Together, they blended in among the maintenance workers. They reached Dock 4, where the Vallis Eeks was connected by a long steel bridge. A security drone hovered near the entrance, scanning everyone who passed. Tomal handed over a small data card. The drone beeped, scanned it, then moved aside. "You sure this'll work?" Mira whispered. "Your name's not in the system," Tomal replied. "But I registered the crate as a broken loading unit. The ID chip in your sleeve is broadcasting the crate's tag." "So the drone thinks I'm equipment?" "Exactly." She smiled slightly. "That's clever. Just stay close." Inside the Vallis Ix, the lights were brighter, and the halls smelled of fresh metal and recycled air. The cargo area was huge, with moving lifts, crates, and machines humming around them. Mira moved quickly, counting the halls and corners as she had drawn on paper. Tomal followed, keeping an eye out for guards. After passing 2 corridors, it reached a side panel. "This is it," Mira said. "The archive room is behind that wall." Tomal knelt and opened the panel, revealing a narrow maintenance duct. "You're going in there?" he asked. "I'll fit," she said. "I built this pathway for engineers to access the coolant grid. It leads straight to the backup console." Tomal handed her a flashlight. "Be careful." "I will," she said. She climbed in and disappeared into the dark. For the next 20 minutes, Tomal stood near the panel, pretending to repair a power box. His heart beat fast, and every time a worker passed, he nodded calmly and kept his hands busy. Then click. The panel opened. Mira crawled out, dusty but smiling. "I got it," she said. "The data's safe. It's all here proof of what they did. I copied everything to a sealed chip." Tomal took a deep breath. "We're not done yet." She nodded. "I know, but we're one step closer." They left the ship the same way. They entered quietly, carefully. Back through the docking halls, past the tired guards and loud machines. No one stopped them. Back at the cabin, Myra sat on the edge of the bed, holding the chip tightly. Tomal poured tea into 2 cups and handed her one. She looked at him with calm, serious eyes. "You just risked everything for me," she said to Mel. Took a sip of his tea. "So did you, for the truth." For the first time, Myra smiled not just out of thanks, but with hope. Back inside the safety of Tomal's small room, Mira sat with her back straight, holding the small data chip in her palm. It didn't look like much, just a thin silver piece with a red light blinking slowly but inside. It carried truth. Tomal watched her from the corner. He had seen many people pass through the station, but never someone like Mira. She was calm under pressure, smart and quiet. But now she looked tense. Her fingers tapped the chip softly again and again, lost in thought. "You all right?" "Tomal?" Mira nodded, but her voice was low. "I don't know what comes next. You have the proof now. he said. Can't you show it to the council? I could. But it's not that simple, she replied. I can't just walk into a council meeting. I'm still listed as deceased. My name doesn't exist in their system anymore. Need confirmation. Proof that it's really me. Tomo leaned back in his chair thinking, what if someone else shows it for you? Someone the council trusts? She looked up at him. Like who? Tomo was quiet for a moment. There's a merchant leader from Varel who sits on the lower council Nalan Var. I once worked a job for him. He knows I'm not the type to lie. If I gave him this chip, he'd look at it. Mira seemed to consider it. Maybe. But if we send it from here, they'll trace the signal. The people who did this to me still have eyes everywhere. We don't send it from here, Tomo said. We go to Virel. Myra's eyes widened slightly. You're serious? There's a supply ship heading down tomorrow? I can get us on it. Workers travel on that route all the time. She gave a quiet smile. You keep surprising me. You're not the only one who can think ahead, Tomo replied with a grin. That night, Mira couldn't sleep. She lay still. In the bunk, while Tomo dozed off in the chair, her mind was full of thoughts. If they made it to Varel, she could speak with someone face to face. If they failed, they could be arrested or worse. But something in her had changed. For the first time in a long while, she wasn't alone, and that made her stronger. The next morning, they boarded the small supply shuttle with 6 other workers. Mira wore a cap low over her face and carried a tool bag. Tomel walked beside her like nothing was wrong. The ship took off smoothly and, within a few hours, they were entering the upper atmosphere of Virel. The world below was full of green forests, silver rivers, and cities built into the hills. The air shimmered with clear light as they landed near the city of Renstra. Where Councilman Nolan Var had his office, Tomel and Mira made their way through the streets quietly, avoiding eye scanners and camera domes. The city felt open and clean, but Myra knew how easily a peaceful place could turn against someone with the wrong name. They reached the council building by late afternoon, a tall structure made of glass and silver stone, guarded by polite but serious officers. Tomel stepped forward to the reception desk. I'm here to speak with Councilman Var, he said. Tell him it's Tomo Harvin. I fixed his daughter's cargo bot 3 years ago. He told me to come if I ever needed help. The receptionist checked the records and made a call. Within minutes, a tall man in a blue robe came through the doors. His beard was short, his eyes sharp but kind. Tamal, he said, shaking his hand. You kept my word all this time. What brings you here? I need to show you something, Tomel said. Something important. The councilman led them into a quiet room with dark panels and a sealed door. Myra didn't speak until it was closed. Then she stepped forward and pulled off her cap. Var froze. Mira. Velis, he whispered. You remember me? She said softly. Yes, of course. I met you during the Orbital Tech Conference last year, but you were declared gone. I was meant to disappear, she said, but I'm alive. Got. I have the data to prove what was done. She handed him the chip. Councilman Var plugged it into his desk terminal. Files opened, voice logs, security footage, signed contracts, payment records. His expression changed slowly from curiosity to shock. This is enough, he said. This is more than enough. Mira, this could bring down half your board. She nodded. That's why I've been hiding. I need your help to make this public. Safely, I don't want more harm. I want the truth to reach the right ears. Var leaned back. I can bring this to the council tonight, but Mira, if they find out you're alive, they'll come for you. You'll need protection. I'm not afraid anymore, she said quietly. I've run for too long. Var looked at Tomel. You helped her? That's rare. Tomel shrugged. She needed help. That was enough. As they left the building, Mira felt a strange peace. For months, she had been moving like a shadow, silent, cold, always looking over her shoulder. Duh. But now, she had said her name out loud. She had handed over the truth. As they walked down the quiet steps into the evening light, Myra turned to Tomel. Why did you really help me that day at the cafe? She asked. Tamel smiled. 'Cause kindness doesn't cost much. Something told me you were worth helping. She paused, then said, that might have changed my whole life. Above them, a large ship moved across the sky, its lights blinking in the clouds. Neither of them noticed the small, silent probe on a nearby rooftop recording everything. Somewhere far away, a signal was being sent, and someone dangerous now knew. Mira Velis was still alive. The city of Renstra looked peaceful under the morning light. Birds flew between shining towers, and quiet hovercars floated above the green streets. But peace was only on the surface, inside a dark meeting room on the top floor of Veltrix Dynamics. Headquarters, 4 men and 1 woman sat around a glass table. A screen lit up in front of them, showing a paused image Mira Velis, alive and walking beside Tomel Harvin. The oldest man at the table leaned forward. His voice was cold and low. So, she survived. She must have had help, another said. She was supposed to be gone. Gone for good. The woman crossed her arms. It doesn't matter. She has no authority now. No access. The screen changed. It showed Councilman Nolan Var holding the data chip. Then files opened, fast and clear. Records, contracts, voice logs, proof of their actions. She's been busy, the older man said. She's trying to bring us down. She can't do that, one of them said quickly. Not alone. She's not alone, the woman replied. That Mantamal, he's helping her. We need to deal with them. The oldest man stood. Send a cleanup team. It's quiet and fast. If she reaches the council with that evidence, we lose everything. Mira didn't know about the meeting. She stood by a small balcony in the guest wing of Var's estate, looking over the city. The night before, Councilman Var had confirmed he would speak with the High Council the next evening. He believed Mira. He believed the data. More importantly, he believed in justice. But Mira knew things would not be easy. Veltrix was a powerful company, and the people running it had deep connections. They wouldn't sit still. Tomel walked onto the balcony, holding 2 mugs of tea. You're up early, he said. I never really sleep, replied with a faint smile. He handed her the tea and stood beside her. What are you thinking? He asked. That it's strange to feel hope again, Mira said quietly. For months, I was only trying to survive. Oh no, I'm thinking about change. I'm sure you're strong, Tomel said. You didn't give up. I almost did many times. She looked at him. But meeting you changed everything. Tomel nodded. Sometimes one small act is enough to shift a whole story. Later that afternoon, Mira decided to take a short walk with Tomel. They wanted to visit a nearby tech library to look for old network access points, hidden backdoors Mira had built into the original Veltrix systems years ago. As they walked through a quiet market square, Mira suddenly stopped. She felt it. Something was wrong. 2 men standing across the street weren't shopping. They weren't talking. They were watching. Tomel noticed too. You see them? Yes, she whispered. They're not locals. Tomel slowly reached for Mira's arm. Let's move. They turned into a narrow alley between 2 buildings. The footsteps behind them grew louder. Run, Myra said. They ran through the alley, turning sharply into another lane, then into an underground passage. But the men followed fast and quiet. Suddenly another figure blocked their path. A tall man in a black coat raised a small device. Aiming it at Mira before he could press it, Tomel charged. With a heavy swing, Tomel knocked the device from the man's hand. Mira grabbed a broken pipe from the ground and swung it toward the second pursuer. They fought hard 2 against 3. But Mira was sharp, and Tomel was strong. Finally, after a few tense minutes, the attackers backed off and disappeared into the shadows. Breathing heavily, Mira leaned against the wall. They're not from the station. That was a trained team. They were sent, Tomel said, wiping a cut on his cheek. Someone found out you're alive. Mira nodded. And now they're trying to silence me before I reach the council. Back at Var's estate, the councilman was shocked when he saw them. You were followed? Yes, Mira said. They tried to stop us. I'll increase security. You're not going anywhere without guards now. Mira shook her head. That won't be enough. They'll send more. and the next team won't fail. Var looked at her, then we act faster. I'll take your data to the council tonight, not tomorrow. The longer we wait, the more dangerous it becomes. But what if they block you? Tommel asked. They won't. I'll speak as a council member. I'll bring it directly to the high chamber. That evening, Mira watched as Var left with 2 guards and the data chip in his hands. Tommel stood beside her at the window. You trust him? Tommel asked. I do, she replied. He's one of the few who never sold his voice. Just then, a small alert appeared on Mira's personal device, an old hidden comlink she had recovered. Her eyes widened. What is it? Tommel asked. Found one of the back doors into the Veltrix network, she said. I can send a silent signal to every public channel on the station. If something happens to Var, the truth will still go out. Tommel gave a slow nod. Then we'll be ready. But across the city, as Councilman Var's transport moved toward the chamber tower, a black drone hovered high in the air, tracking them silently. Someone was still watching, still waiting, and they had one final move left, back in the guest room. Mira sat at the table, fingers moving quickly over her small device. She was creating a timed upload if the council failed her, or if anything happened to them. The data would spread across the public net. Tommel sat nearby. Keeping watch at the door, they were tired, quiet, but their eyes were sharp. I don't. Know what happens after this? Mira said softly. We do what's right, Tommel replied. That's enough. The room was silent for a while. Then Mira looked at him and smiled faintly. Thank you for believing in someone the world forgot. Tommel smiled back. Sometimes the forgotten ones are the ones worth saving. Outside, the night was still, but the storm was almost here. The night sky over Rinstra was darker than usual. Thick clouds covered the stars, and a light breeze moved through the tall silver buildings. Inside, Councilman Var's estate, Mira and Tommel waited in silence. Councilman Var had left an hour ago to deliver the data chip to the High Council. He promised to speak directly to the chamber and reveal the truth about Mira's disappearance, the lies told by the Veltrix board, and the illegal project hidden under the company's name. Mira sat at the edge of her seat, staring at her comlink. Tommel stood near the window, looking out. Couldn't see much, just blinking city lights and shadows between the towers. Still nothing? Tommel asked. No message, Mira replied softly. It's been too long. Tommel walked over to the table. Do you think something happened? I don't know, she whispered, but I feel something's not right. Suddenly a sharp beep echoed from Mira's comlink. She looked down quickly. It's a message, she said. From one of Var's guards. She tapped the screen. The message appeared in simple text. Councilman Var stopped. Route blocked. Transport under attack. We escaped. No signal from Var. Tommel clenched his fists. They got to him. Mira's hands shook slightly, but her voice stayed calm. They knew he had the chip. They wanted to stop the truth before it reached the council.
Ow.
What do we do now? Tommel asked. Mira stood up, her eyes focused and clear. We send the message ourselves. You mean through the backup channel? Yes, she said. I've been building a secure upload. If we launch it now, it will reach every public terminal, news hub, and council log in the sector. Tommel nodded. Then let's do it. Mira pulled up the screen. A map of transmission points appeared. She pointed to a tall communication tower near the edge of the city. This one is old, but still active. It's not watched closely. If we reach it, we can upload the files without being traced. Tommel grabbed his coat. Then we move now. Streets were mostly empty. Only a few patrol bots floated along the sidewalks, scanning for noise and movement. Mira and Tommel moved quickly, staying in the shadows. As they neared the tower, Mira looked up at the sky. We only have one chance, she said. Tommel looked at her. You sure this will work? It has to. When they reached the tower, the entrance was locked. Tommel pulled out a small tool from his belt and worked on the panel. Within moments, the door clicked open. They stepped inside. The inside of the tower was dark and cold. Dust floated in the air. The walls were covered in wires and panels. They climbed the stairs quickly, reaching the control room near the top. Mira connected her device to the terminal and began the upload. "Once it starts, we can't stop it," she said. "Good," Tomel replied. "Let them see everything." Suddenly, a loud noise echoed below them, metal footsteps. "They found us," Myra said. Tamel moved to the door. "Keep working. I'll slow them down." Myra's eyes widened. "Tamal, you can't fight them alone." "I don't need to." "Fight. I just need to buy you time." Before she could argue, he gave her a firm nod and stepped out of the room. Down in the stairwell, 3 dark figures moved up quickly. They wore black armor and carried stun batons. Their eyes glowed faintly. Under their helmets, Tomel met them 2 levels down. He threw a heavy pipe down the stairs, causing a loud crash. The guards paused, then rushed forward. Tomel moved fast, throwing a fire extinguisher to block their path. The white cloud filled the air, making it hard for them to see. One of the guards slipped. Tomel grabbed a metal rod and swung it toward the second guard, knocking the baton from his hand. He wasn't trained, but he was strong and, more importantly, he believed in what they were doing. But there were too many. One of the guards grabbed Tomel and pushed him hard against the wall. He hit the ground, dazed above. Mira's hands moved. Quickly over the screen, the upload bar was almost full, 92%. 93%. She heard the footsteps coming closer. She turned, locking the door with a code. It wouldn't hold long, but maybe it was enough. 94%. 95%. A loud bang shook the door. She whispered, "Just a few seconds more." Tomel struggled to stand. The guards passed him and continued up the stairs. He reached for his comlink. "Mira, they're coming." Her voice answered, calm and steady. "I know. I'm almost done. Be careful." Tomel forced himself to his feet and started after them. He wouldn't let them reach her alone. In the control room, the door shook again. This time cracking at the edge, 0.98%, 99%. Then 100%. The screen flashed green. "Upload complete." Mira smiled. "It's done." The door burst open. 3 guards entered, weapons raised, but stopped. Behind them, Tamel stood in the hallway, holding a metal pipe, breathing hard. He had followed them the whole way. Mira raised her hands slowly. "You're too late. The message has already gone out." Leader of the guards lowered his weapon slightly. "You'll still come with us." "Maybe," she said. "But the truth is out, and you can't stop that now." Across the city, in terminals, newsrooms, and council chambers, screens lit up. The files opened. People saw the contracts, the secret meetings, the voice logs. They saw that Mira Velis was alive. They saw the truth. Back in the tower, the guards paused. One of them received a new message through his headset. He looked confused, then slowly turned to the leader. "The council. The council is calling for her protection." The leader hesitated, then gave a small nod. "Stand down," said. Mira stepped forward and reached Tomel, helping him stay. "Upright? You okay?" she asked. He nodded weakly. "Worth it." They looked out the window. The stars had returned, and so had the truth. The sun rose slowly over the city of Renstra, casting golden light over the towers, streets, and sky bridges. A gentle breeze passed through the early morning air, but today, the city was no longer quiet. Every public screen displayed the same headline: "Mira Velis is alive. Truth behind Veltric's board exposed." News reporters repeated the story again and again. People gathered in squares, reading files released from Mira's data chip. Many were shocked, some were angry. But one thing was certain: the truth could not be hidden anymore. Inside the council tower, the High Chamber had called an emergency session. Councilman Nolan Var, injured but safe, stood by Mira's side. His transport had been attacked the night before, but his guards had protected him. He had survived, and now he was ready to speak for her. Tomel stood nearby, his arm wrapped in bandages from the fight at the tower. He didn't speak much, but Mira knew his presence gave her strength. The room was large and quiet. 12 council members sat in tall chairs, listening carefully. Each wore a symbol of justice over their robes. Mira stood in the center, calm but firm. One of the council members, a woman with gray eyes, spoke first. You claim to be Mira Velis, but your name was removed, your record erased. What proof? Do you have that? You are who you say? Myra stepped forward. She placed a small device on the table. A blue light glowed, and her voice echoed from the speakers. A recording played her voice from years ago, discussing security systems, project plans, private designs, known only to the real Mira. After that, another video played. It was a personal message from her late father, the former founder of Veltrix Dynamics, recorded years ago and saved on her chip. In it, he said, "If anything ever happens to my daughter, know this. Mira Velis is not just my heir, but the heart of what Veltrix should stand for. Do not let power blind the truth." When the video ended, the chamber was silent. Councilman Var spoke next. You have seen the files. You have seen the proof. This woman was betrayed by her own board, left for dead, and erased from every system. But she lived. She fought. And she returned not for revenge, but for justice. The council members whispered among themselves. Then the lead member raised his hand. Bring forward the board of Veltrix. Guards opened the side door, and 4 people were led inside, 3 men and 1 woman. They looked nervous now. The confidence they once held was gone. You have been accused of betrayal, data fraud, and attempted harm against a former CEO, the council leader said. Do you deny these charges? The board members looked at each other, unsure what to say. Finally, one of them, the youngest, spoke. We only did what we thought was best for the company. Lying to the world, Mira said sharply. Silencing the truth to protect your power? The council leader raised a hand. Enough. We have heard both sides. Now we will decide. Outside the chamber, hundreds of people stood watching the broadcast on giant screens. Workers, engineers, shopkeepers, even children had gathered to see what would happen. In a small corner of the crowd, a young boy stood beside a woman. Is that her mama? He asked. Is that the lady from the news? Yes, the woman replied. She's the one who told the truth. Back inside the chamber, the decision was made. The council leader stood and faced the room. Mira Velis. Based on the evidence provided and the support of Councilman Var, your identity is confirmed.
How?
You are officially recognized once again. As the rightful founder and CEO of Veltrix Dynamics, gasps filled the chamber. The actions taken against you by the former board members are considered criminal. They will face trial. All control of the company is to be returned to you effective immediately. Mira didn't move for a moment. Her hands trembled slightly. Then she looked at Mel. He gave her a small nod. She stepped forward and spoke. I accept. But I will not return Veltrix to what it was. This company was built to help people, not control them. I will rebuild it with honesty and purpose. The council clapped quietly, a sign of respect. That night, back at Var's estate, Mira stood. On the balcony once again. But this time, she wasn't hiding. The city lights below looked different, brighter, more open. Tomel joined her, carrying 2 cups of warm tea. You did it, he said. We did it, she corrected. He smiled. So, what happens now? I start again, she said. From the beginning? This time with the right people beside me, he nodded. Are you going back to space? Not yet. There's work to do here first. The company needs to be cleaned. New leaders chosen. And I want to meet the people who were affected by what happened. She turned to him. You've helped me more than I can explain, Tomel. I wouldn't be standing here without you. He looked out toward the stars. I didn't do much. Just paid for coffee one day. Mira laughed softly. Sometimes one small act of kindness starts a chain that changes everything. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Mira asked, What about you? What do you want to do now? Tomel thought for a moment. I want to see my son more, maybe. Fix less cargo bots, and more important things, he said. Maybe stay close to the people who believe in truth. Mira smiled. You'll always have a place at Veltrix if you want it. I'd rather have a place as your friend, he said. You already do. In the weeks that followed, Veltrix dynamics began to change. Corrupt leaders were removed. Old projects were shut down. New programs were started to help colonies protect workers, improve lives. People across the galaxy heard the story of Mira Velis, the CEO who came back from the shadows. And they remembered Tomel Harvin, the man who once paid for a stranger's coffee and unknowingly helped save a future. And somewhere on a small balcony under the stars, two friends stood side by side, proof that even in a world of machines and power, human kindness still made all the difference. The end.